time. Let me tell you a story about a woman who was a bartender on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. She loved her job. She lived just outside of New Orleans, and she would drive in every night to mess with the tourists, serve them, and have a good time. Well, one night she's there, and this guy comes in, and he's like looking at her and flirting with her, and she's like, whatever. Guys always do that, so it's no big deal. Then he started throwing out big tips, buying a bar for other people, and she was like, okay, look at this little big spender, but he looks pretty young. He gives her his number, and she's like, what am I going to do with you? And he tells her he's 22, and she's 28 years old. She's like, what, a little college student? Why is he even trying me like that? So she ignores him. He comes into the bar every single night looking for her, and she's like, dang, he persistent, asking her out on a date, asking her out on a date. She's like, what am I going to do with you? You 22. And he's like, I'll show you. So eventually, she decides to call him and agrees to go on a date. And when they go to this pizza spot and they sit down, she's like, wow, they actually click. She like talking to him. He make her laugh. She's like, oh my gosh, this man is handsome. And he's fun to be with. Like, but he's 22. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I'm a grown woman. I don't want nobody thinking I'm a perv. Well, after some time, he don't care. He's pursuing her. He's like, man, I saw that booty and I wanted you. And she's laughing like, oh my God. He make her feel like she's so beautiful. Well, eventually, they start going out, and he decides that he really, really likes her. And he asks her, would you be my girlfriend? And she's feeling like butterflies, like, I can't believe this is happening, but I like it. You know how men don't end up making things official? He was doing all the right, cute things to let her know this is real, and I'm really with you. So she was like, of course I'll be your girlfriend. And one day he sends her this text message, and it has the song in it, let me love you down. She was like, oh my God, he's so crazy. But from that moment, she realized he might be an old soul. I might be able to rock with him. It wasn't even like 2 weeks later, it turns out to be Valentine's Day. And when they meet up to go out, he looks at her and he says, I love you. Oh my gosh. So now it's time that they're getting serious. They're thinking about moving in together. So he's like, I want you to meet my mom. And she's like, okay, this man is biracial and he was adopted by a black mother. But his black mother knew his birth mom, who was a white woman. And she promised his mother, hey, I'm going to make sure he's fine. I'm going to take good care of him. And part of taking good care of him means making sure he end up with the right woman. So when his mother meets the girl, she's looking at her like, ugh. Now, remember they're in the South in New Orleans, and New Orleans was the second biggest port for bringing in slaves. All of those issues that came around value based on color started right there, and it's still there today. Because the woman is dark-skinned, the mother thinks she's not good enough for her child. And she makes little comments to the woman like, hey, maybe you should stay out of the sun more. The young man is not having it. He's checking his mother like, you need to stop. I love this girl. She's probably going to be my wife. And the mother's like, oh my gosh, I'm sure you can make a better choice. But he doesn't listen. He's planning a proposal, inviting all their friends and family to come to surprise her so he can ask her to marry him. And on the way to the proposal, he gets a phone call. His mother had a heart attack. She's in the hospital. She doesn't know if she's going to live or die. Everybody around is like, you're right. She's faking it because she doesn't want this to happen. He goes on with the proposal anyway, and she says yes. Of course, the mother is fine. After they get married, they move in together, and of course, they start a family. She has a son from him, and she's so proud, but the mother's like, look at his skin tone. Are you sure it's yours? The woman's like, look, I'm not doing this. Like, I can't be around her. My son's not going over there. She needs to get her act together, or I'm just not dealing with it. Her husband's like, look, you married me. You didn't marry her. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what nobody does. I'm in love with you, and I'm going to be there with you until my dying day. And they still together.